Hello, everyone. My name is Mark. I like reading books, and I also like to introduce great books to you. Today, the book I want to introduce is Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. Kazuo Ishiguro is an author that I really like and admire. Remains of the Day would be the first book I ever read from him. That book really got me into his whole collection of works afterwards. And also, this book is really personal to me, I feel like, because it talks about career, work, professionalism, which also I have to reflect upon myself through my career or just my adulthood. So it's a very interesting topic, and I think it's worth reading, and you might find a thing or two about your own life too. All right. So the book is about a main character. His name is Mr. Stevens. Mr. Stevens is an old-fashioned English butler. He works at a place called Darlington Hall. So Darlington Hall was first owned by Lord Darlington, and then later on, Lord Darlington left Darlington Hall for some reason. Then it was purchased by an American gentleman. That American gentleman is called Mr. Faraday. So Mr. Stevens served those two employers. And throughout his career, he's very devoted, he's very hardworking, he's very loyal to his employers. And so the book actually happened at his second employment with Mr. Faraday. Mr. Faraday saw Mr. Stevens was working really hard and never takes any breaks. So he persuaded him to go on a road trip to English countryside. So during this road trip, Mr. Stevens started to reflect on his past experience. And he thought about many just small things happened at Darlington Hall. Essentially, I think it's a really, really sad story because he put everything he ever had on his job, on his profession to maintain that dignity, that honor, that loyalty. But he ended up living a very miserable life, including missing the final moments with his father, also missing the possible opportunities with his romantic interests. And he got retired and he started to make mistakes at his job, which he's very proud of. And also the first employer, Lord Darlington, later, like we found out he had some connection with Nazi Germany or Nazi Germany sympathizers. So Mr. Stevens actually helped Lord Darlington did some really bad things. For example, like fired two Jewish mates just because they were Jewish. And so still, when he was reflecting on those things, he tried to make the best of them, I guess, and he tried to find out excuses and reasoning to defend his decisions and behavior. And there's even a sense of self-righteous way, like that's the things he honored. So it made the whole thing even more like miserable or pathetic. Yeah. Um, so there are many things happen during his employment with Lord Darlington. I'll pick a few things to talk about since there are so many. The book has so many layers. I think the first thing I would find really memorable would be his father's last moments. So his father was also like a butler or staff worked at Darlington Hall. So when his father is really, really ill, many other staff was telling like Mr. Stevens, oh, your father is getting old. Maybe, he should relinquish some of his duties and take some lighter chores in the house. But I think Mr. Stevens and his father took that as an offense. They were like, oh, you don't think we're good enough? You don't think we're good employees here? Why you doubt our abilities? So he and his father like just kept working really hard work, and they were really proud of it, and think other people's caring as a sense of offense. That's really weird to me. But I guess that's how they prioritize their things. They really honor their work. So uh, before his father passed away, his father was really ill, but there was a very important meeting happening in the house. So Mr. Stevens didn't leave his post to care of his father or just to visit his father. So his father like passed away in background when he's still really, really busy and occupied with tasks at hand. Other staff were really worried about them, and they showed their like sympathy and care. And Mr. Stevens was like, "Oh, that thing happened. My father wouldn't wish me to leave my post to see him." So that's basically the ending of his father. It's a bit sad. Like by any given day, I think we should probably prioritize our family over our work, right? That's just a bit extreme to me. Yeah. The other thing I could remember is Mr. Stevens likes to read romantic novels. So one time he was being caught like reading a novel, and by Miss Kenton. Miss Kenton is also an important character in the story. And so then he came up with an explanation. He was like, "Oh, I'm merely reading this book because I want to improve my English so I can speak to my employers more properly." And so you can really tell like he gave up like all his personal desires just to prioritize his work. And I think the most shocking thing in the book would be, when the readers, like all of us, realized Lord Darlington actually had ties with Nazi Germany, and he got a bad rap because of it. And Mr. Stevens still tried to defend Lord Darlington. And because we read the book through Mr. Stevens' narration, essentially. So there are some false narration in it. You can tell like it's a little bit self conflicting. But that's the interesting part about it. Is like you can see a man is trying to make up stories just to justify the whole thing. I think that made me think about loyalty and the also like work relationship again, especially as middle management, as he's the head butler of the house. So he never doubted Lord Darlington's decisions. Lord Darlington is a noble, naive man. Like I think Lord Darlington is well intended, but I think he's naive because he's naive, so he got exploited by other people and ended up doing things that is not morally correct. Uh, Despite all of this, Mr. Stevens, as the middle management of the house, he just executed everything Lord Darlington told him without a sense of uh, independent reasoning or independent thinking, just to think critically. There's really a lack of that. Yeah, I mean, we should all honor our job, or we should all like try to find some values and passions from our job, but one should not take our work to an extreme so that we ignore everything else happening in life. That's just really pathetic, I think. I mean, even nowadays, when we have a corporate job, um, yeah, that takes up a whole lot of our lives. And yeah, it is helpful sometimes when you are passionate about your job, you find, fulfillment and your own pursuits in your job, which is great. But that's not 100% of your life. You gonna care for yourself, you're gonna prioritize yourself. even before your job. Like, yeah, those are two separate things that not many people are aware of till today. That's also my major reflections. Like, during school, I was a good obedient student. If I followed everything teacher told me, I could landed good grades. But when I entered my adulthood, when I started working for corporates, so we should forget about this authority thing. Nobody is 100% correct. And even within your own organizations, there are conflicts, there are not everything's black and white. You gotta care for yourself and protect yourself instead of just follow somebody's orders bluntly and take it as an honor or dignity. I think one thing really interesting, like mentioned in the book, is Mr. Stevens always ponder like if he is the best butler, and there's such a ranking system by the Hay Society, which is really absurd. Similar things could apply to every field. Like, am I the best software engineer? Am I the best management consultant? Well, the whole industry could be gone in a blink of an eye. Now with the AI, the technology comes up. Even if you're a best software engineer, so what? That field might not exist in a few years. And I mean, that is definitely uh would I would respect someone is really working hard for their like professional goals, but you know life has its own richness. Just be mindful about other things happening in life too. Yeah. um I was really occupied and absorbed by my own work as well. That's the time when I happened to read this book, Remains of the Day. It really reminded me to enjoy the present a little bit more and to maybe care less about the things that we are employed to do. That's our responsibility for sure, but you need to, yeah, just care yourself a little bit more. So a quote I really like from the book would be when Mr. Stevens went on a road trip. So he met somebody else on the road, and that person just reminded him, "Oh, you need to enjoy the remains of the day. Now you are on the holiday. You got to enjoy yourself." I think that's such a simple, simple thing, but lots of us just tend to forget sometimes. Okay, so that passenger on the road just said to Mr. Stevens, basically, you've got to enjoy yourself. The evening is the best part of the day. You've done your day's work. Now you can put your feet up and enjoy it. That's how I look at it. Ask anybody, they'll all tell you the evening is the best part of the day. So yeah, I think that is really touching. When you work so hard and you realize there's something else in your life, there's some other things could bring fulfillments. There are other things you could prioritize, like your family, like your relationships, like your own well-being. All right, I think that's all I can talk about for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.